Welcome to the beginning of a new nostalgia series, which begins with Percy Jackson, one of the greatest fantasy book series of the new age. Chapter 1. I accidentally vaporized my pre-algebra teacher. Let's get one thing straight. I never asked to be the son of a Greek god. I never asked for any of this. If you're listening to this because you think you might be one of us, my advice is to turn this off right now. Pretend none of it is real. Because once you know, you'll start seeing them too. And once they notice you, it's only a matter of time before they come for you. So listen to my warning. But if you're a normal kid and you just want a good story, fine. Welcome to my life. My name is Percy Jackson. Until a few months ago, I was a student at Yancey Academy, a private school upstate for kids with, let's call them behavioral challenges. I was one of those challenges. So I have ADHD and dyslexia, which means I'm fidgety in class and the letters on a page like to play musical chairs. I'd been kicked out of a different school every year. This year, I was trying to be good. Mostly. My whole world started to unravel on a school field trip to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I know, a bus full of troubled tweens heading into Manhattan. What could possibly go wrong? The only things I liked about Yancey were my best friend Grover and my Latin teacher, Mr. Brunner. Grover was an easy target. He was scrawny, cried when he got frustrated, and had a muscle disease in his legs that made him walk with a limp. He was also my only friend, so when the school bully, a kleptomaniac named Nancy Bobofit, started pegging him in the back of the head with chunks of her peanut butter and ketchup sandwich on the bus ride, I had to step in. I told her to knock it off. She didn't. I was getting dangerously close to my 3 strikes and you're out limit with the school administration. The trip didn't get much better. Mr. Brunner, who was in a motorized wheelchair, was leading the tour. He was this middle-aged guy who seemed to have a 1,000-year-old collection of Roman armor and weapons at home. He was intense, always pushing me, expecting me to know things. In front of this big stone column with a carving on it, he pointed at a picture. It was a guy eating babies. "Percy," he asked, and the whole class snickered. "What does this image represent?" I actually knew this one. "Kronos eating his kids, sir." "And why?" he pressed. "Did he do that?" "Well," I said, trying to remember. "Kronos was the king of the Titans, and he was afraid his own kids would overthrow him, just like he did to his dad, Ouranos." Mr. Brunner nodded. "Precisely. And what does this have to do with your life?" I just stared. What does any of this have to do with my life? "What you learn from me, Percy," he said, his eyes deadly serious, "is a matter of life and death. I expect you to remember that." That's when it was time for lunch. The weather had turned. A huge thunderstorm was brewing over the city. We all sat on the steps of the museum. Grover and I tried to find a spot away from Nancy, but she found us anyway, dumping the rest of her lunch right in Grover's lap. I don't remember touching her. I just remember this roar in my ears, this tug in my gut. I looked over at the fountain, and the water seemed to arch through the air, right at her. A wave crashed over her, and she landed sputtering in the fountain. The other kids started whispering, "Did you see? The water, like it grabbed her." Everyone was looking at me, and I was looking at Mrs. Dodds. Our pre-algebra teacher was this little woman who always wore a black leather jacket. She'd been my teacher since Christmas, and she absolutely hated me. Now she was smiling this triumphant, evil smile, as if I'd finally done something she'd been waiting for all semester. "Now, honey," she said, her voice sickeningly sweet, "come with me." Grover tried to stop me. He looked terrified. It wasn't his fault, Mrs. Dodds. But she just glared at him, and he flinched. She steered me back into the museum, into the Greek and Roman exhibits. It was empty, just us and the echoes. "You've been giving us problems, honey," she said. I knew I was in for it. I was about to get expelled. Again. But that's not what she was talking about. She started making this low growling sound. Did you really think you would get away with it? Her voice didn't sound human anymore. I had no idea what she meant. And then the weirdest thing I'd ever seen in my life happened. Her eyes started to glow like embers. Her fingers grew into talons. Her jacket melted away, revealing a pair of huge leathery bat wings. She wasn't human. She was a shriveled hag with wings and claws and a mouth full of fangs. She was a nightmare. Before I could even scream, Mr. Brunner rolled his wheelchair into the gallery entrance. "Percy!" he yelled, and he tossed me a ballpoint pen. A pen. The winged monster lunged at me. I dodged, and my fingers closed around the pen in midair. The cap came off, and the pen started to grow. It stretched and thickened in my hand until I was holding a 3-foot-long sword of gleaming celestial bronze. The creature formerly known as Mrs. Dodds snarled, "Die, honey," and flew straight at me. Every muscle in my body moved on instinct. I swung the sword. The metal blade hit her shoulder and passed straight through her body as if she were made of mist. There was a bone-rattling scream, a flash of light, and she just exploded. Just gone. Vaporized into a cloud of fine yellow powder that smelled like sulfur, which then dissolved into nothing. I was alone. In my hand, I was holding a ballpoint pen. I went back outside, my heart hammering against my ribs. The rain had started. The other kids were getting back on the bus. Nancy Bobofit was still soaked, grumbling to her friends. She looked at me, then said something about me pushing her. There was no mention of the water grabbing her. I found Grover. "Where's Mrs. Dodds?" I asked him. He looked at me, completely blank. "Who?" "Our teacher," I insisted. "Mrs. Dodds, the pre-algebra teacher." He looked at me with genuine pity, like I was crazy. He said, "Percy, there is no Mrs. Dodds on this trip. There's no one with that name at Yancey. Are you feeling okay?" I even went to Mr. Brunner. He looked up from his novel. "Ah, that would be my pen. Here you are." He took the pen, not even mentioning the fact that it had just been a demon-slaying sword. I asked him about Mrs. Dodds. He stared at me, his brow furrowed. "Percy," he said gently, "there has been no Mrs. Dodds at Yancey Academy. Our pre-algebra teacher is a woman named Mrs. Kerr." And the scariest part? When I looked over at Nancy Bobofit, I saw her talking to a bubbly redhead I'd never seen before in my life. And she was calling her Mrs. Kerr. I thought I was losing my mind. But I knew what I saw. I had accidentally vaporized my pre-algebra teacher. And now no one seemed to remember she had ever existed at all. Thank you for listening to Chapter 1. Let me know if you'd like me to complete the book.